Honorable colleagues, I rise in strong opposition to House Bill 2227. Is that too many twos? Colleagues, I find this bill to be anti-growth, anti-jobs, and anti-local control. Also, I strongly oppose taking away from the legislature the responsibility for designation resort policy and giving it to a state agency. I, as do at least 3 members of the House Land Use Committee, support studying in detail our current policies to create designation resort policy changes necessary. In our current economic recession, there is no reason to rush to enact a social engineering policy of this bill before you today, which I submit discourages any further resorts in Oregon. It is my opinion that most testimony and support came from environmental groups, from not-in-my-backyard citizens, and from the Friends of the Metolius. Some opponents also expressed concerns about the passage of the bill, which would establish authority for the Department of Land Conservation Development to refine this designation resort policy without legislation. There are many amendments submitted to the bill. 3 recommended the study first. And that's what I'm asking today. Let's turn this down and support a study. The committee, on a 5-3 vote, has provided you a bill which will stop designation resorts and takes the decision for resorts away from the county to a state agency. Why take the decision for resorts away from local people and give it to a state agency? Let me tell you something. We talked about people from Crook County opposing designation resorts, some of the testimony you heard today. Members, Crook County passed a bill placing a moratorium on designation resorts. That's great. The system worked. The people spoke. Why kill designation resorts now? Why now, in this economy? I doubt there's money to fund any new designation resorts. Let's study our current policy and adjust it.
Representative Cameron yields.
Thank you, Representative. And listen to this carefully, colleagues. Why kill designation resorts when the area with the most potential for resorts and very little potential for agriculture has the highest unemployment rates in the state? Listen to this, colleagues. Crook County, 20.7%. That's people. That's not just a number. That's families, not just a number. Jefferson County has 18.9%. Deschutes County, 16.1%. These are unadjusted rates. As someone with frontline knowledge of resorts and as elected official of resorts, I would have appreciated a seat at the table in some of these work groups discussing the bill, which I believe is a death sentence for designation resorts and the future of some of these rural areas. Listen to those people from Klamath County. It's their future. I want to summarize some of the economic impacts about designation resorts in Oregon. You need to know this. We're in a recession. We're short billions of dollars. From a March 2007 report which looked at 8 resorts, the resorts employ over 2,000 with a payroll of over $54 million, which averages over $26,000 per employee. The report identified 219 industries which benefit directly from proximity to the resorts, and they employ 1,300 workers with a total payroll of over $31 million. Listen to this number, colleagues. The 2007 Deschutes County property value of the 5 major resorts is over $3 billion. That's a B. The yearly property tax for education and other county services is almost $29 million. In addition, in 2007, Deschutes County collected room taxes of over $3.5 million, and 3.1 of that came from designation resorts. Maybe you'll hear about the situation of permanent residents. Sun River Resort has less than 20% full-time residents. Black Butte has less than 17%. Listen to this fact. Black Butte Ranch pays almost $7 million in property taxes. It has 17 students. That's a pretty bang for the buck. Sun River and Black Butte have their own police and fire departments. Again, let me remind you about the unemployment rates. People, families, faces. Central Oregon, 20% in Crook, 18% in Jefferson, 16% in Deschutes. Central Oregon has lost its primary industry of wood products in the 1970s, and you, the state leaders, encourage tourism in Central Oregon as a replacement. According to a land use lawyer in Bend, tourism and designation resorts are important contributors to the local economy and tax base used to operate government services. The adoption of this bill would effectively prohibit any new resorts developed in Deschutes County. It will make it more difficult for the county to recover when the nation's economy improves. It would also discourage long-term investment in land by creating an unstable regulatory environment. I truly believe the bill as written will stop any future resorts in Central Oregon. We already have 2 cities in my district in Central Oregon on the economic depressed list. Remember, the purpose of this bill was to promote Oregon as a vacation designation and encourage tourism as a valuable segment of this economy. I could have asked members of the committee why no one from the Oregon Tourism Commission testified. Todd Davis says no one testified from the Oregon Tourism Commission. They are participating in any of the work groups. I assume you know that Oregon spends millions per year promoting tourism and advertising Oregon's resorts and recreational activities. Even Governor Tom McCall's famous billboard encouraged Californians to visit but not move here. House Bill 2227 will tear down that billboard. Last year, the good representative who's not here on the floor from Central Coast mentioned John Gray. John Gray was honored last year by the Architect Foundation of Oregon for his contributions to the built environment in Oregon. Mr. Gray developed the Shalishan and Sun River resorts. He did not just develop land, he improved it. He built Sun River over an abandoned Army Corps of Engineers World War II Army training camp.
Representative Gilliam yields.
Thank you, Representative. We can still create environmental friendly resorts like John Gray advocates for, but not if we make it financially impossible or just plain impossible. In summary, I've given you what I hope was convincing arguments to oppose this bill. I believe this bill will destroy any future designation resorts and thus will continue to keep Central Oregon economically depressed. I do believe this bill is anti-jobs, anti-growth, anti-local control of land use decisions, plus it delegates legislative responsibility to a state agency, which I do not agree with. I hope I've convinced you that designation resorts are a key industry for Central Oregon, and that before we destroy any new growth, let's study the policy which was the original concept behind this bill and recommend changes to develop environmental friendly resorts without any negative impacts on communities. Why rush to destroy another Oregon industry? I urge you to reject this bill and let's study the current policy on designation resorts during the interim. There's no need to take this policy away from elected officials and no need to rush to kill resorts and future jobs. The Bend Bulletin editorial on your desk, the final statement in that editorial is, some designation resorts may be bad, but in these parts, the good ones have enriched government, provided jobs, and attracted the kind of folks and businesses that the region desperately needs. Please vote yes for jobs and no on HB 2227. And friends, let's not be remembered as the legislators who killed designation resorts.